Right, first things first, I'm very aware that I have the same concept as Mr. Yahtzee, and I'm sure some of you will be more than willing to tell me that. However, I must point out I can't help it if we're both very similar. We both love TV, air, women, oysters. The only difference is, he reviews games, I review film. In film, like in most mainstream media, only 3 in a billion films are worth talking about, let alone reviewing. So the first film I've chosen to review is the Oscar-winning and very well-known $1 Million Baby, which is a misleading title as there's no babies to be seen throughout the entire film. So if you're hoping to see a film which involves a baby worth $1 million, you'll be very disappointed. But if the film you're looking for involves the tale of an American white trash waitress becoming a professional boxer, then this is the film for you. Right, so before I delve into the film's narrative, that means story to all the uneducated morons that fill up YouTube, I'd like to just take a minute and say, what the fuck is up with Clint Eastwood's voice in this film? The man sounds like he spent his entire life screaming at the top of his voice in the middle of the woods. The only other person that could rival this is Christian Bale doing his stupid Batman voice. Both of them sound a little pedo-ish. Maybe that's why baby's in the title. Sorry, I'm ranting. Where was I again? Oh yeah, the narrative. The narrative follows an aging boxer trainer called Frankie Dunn, who will now be called Croaky Peter Voice. So Croaky Peter Voice is estranged from his daughter and struggling to get fights to the top, and when he does, they leave him for a manager with money. Then walks in Maggie Fitzgerald, played by Hilary Swank, a waitress who has trained herself to be a boxer and she has bags of ambition to be a champion. In true Clint style, Frankie is reluctant to take on the ovary-bearing boxer because he doesn't train girls. Maggie's determined to have Frankie train her, so she keeps going to the gym, being the first in and last out, which is curious to see how much time she has on her hands. Being a full-time waitress, I would have thought that she'd spend most of her time waiting on people. I think most of the customers were wondering when their apple pie is going to arrive. Anyway, moving on, then Maggie is noticed by Eddie Scrap Iron Dupreece, played by Morgan Freeman, an ex-boxer who is now the gym janitor and partially trainer. Eddie sets her on her way, teaching her a few tricks, and eventually she is taken on by Frankie. And it's not much of a spoiler when I say that even Mike Tyson would shed a tear at some point in this film. So now I bet you're thinking, wow, Morgan Freeman's in this film. I wonder if he'll do a voiceover. Well, of course he does a voiceover, it's Morgan Freeman. A film with Morgan Freeman wouldn't be complete without his grandfather-like voice narrating through the film. Honestly, I think that man could narrate Pearl Harbor and get an Oscar. No, in fact, I bet he could even make a film with Zac Efron half decent and possibly even watchable. Being a boxing film, I'll have a browse of the boxing scenes, and you'll find actually that they're pretty good. Myself being a fan of boxing, I can pick up on a few flaws which most boxing films have, with the main culprits being all the Rocky films and Raging Bull. The problem that I have with these films is that in every fighting scene, each fighter takes about 100 blows to the face, which any normal man would firstly get the hell out of the way of, and secondly would go down after a couple of hundred had landed on your chin. If boxing was actually like this, then the Ricky Hatton-Manny Pacquiao fight would have been much more entertaining, and I wouldn't have had to waste £15 watching my boxer get knocked out in 2 rounds. The fights in this film, however, are much more realistic and therefore more enjoyable to watch. Another aspect of this boxing film which is completely fucked up, the female boxer's stereotype, which is that any woman that is a boxer would be an enormous rug muncher, and in this film it seems right on the money, as Maggie doesn't even have a man or seem even remotely interested in having one, apart from Croaky Peter Voice. But it doesn't bother me because the only women's sport worth watching is volleyball, because I find that most of the women in that sport have amazing technical ability. Now it's time for McLovin's Film Fact. In every video that I post, I'll be filling you in with some factual information about films that you may or may not have known. So I hope you're ready for some mind-blowing factual information. Here we go. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito starred together in a film called Twins in 1988. They are in fact not twins. Fact. So now we're all a little bit more enlightened, well, let's talk about the Oscars. When it comes to film awards, the only one that should be taken seriously are the Oscars, aka Academy Awards. But even they hand out awards to incredibly average films, not naming names, but it rhymes with schmo-schmanic. However, I would have to agree with every Oscar this film received, particularly Hilary Swank's. Her performance was Oscar worthy and she looked confident, and she also looked just like a rug muncher, boxer. Also, I think the editing in this film was great and that Joel Cox was robbed of an Oscar by Thelma Schoonmaker. Screw you, Thelma Schoonmaker. It makes little people like me believe that I can achieve anything and makes me want to go out and box. But just before I'm about to recreate my own Rocky-esque montage, I realise that I'm just a fat, unfit film boy who would lose a fight to his mother. Now I know this sounds like I'm a film hippie and I love all films and tend not to be critical of them, but I promise you the next time I'll rip apart my next film. I think I'll pick a film with Zac Efron.